what led you to the activism and the organizing and stuff like that? Was it after you got out of prison, or did you have some earlier experiences with that?
That's a great question. Again, I think when you look at the lives of Malcolm X, Bunchy Carter, uh, individuals such as those who come out of the criminal element, the undeveloped element within our community. Technically, those individuals was organizers, right? You're organizing gang fights. You're organizing uh, criminal activities. It takes a level of organization to be able to do that. And then also, activists is to be active, right? So you're active in that world, and those are transferable skills if you choose to apply it, right? And so, in prison, as I mentioned earlier, meeting my father and him introducing me to how to change my worldview. And once I began to change my worldview, Bunchy Carter became on my radar. Malcolm X was on my radar. George Jackson was on my radar. Angela Davis, Asada Shakur, etc. And so, absorbing those individuals enhanced and accelerated the ability to change that worldview. And so, the question now is, what do you do with this knowledge? What do you do with this information? It's like it's not a book that you just go put on a shelf. You have to be active, and part of the information knowledge that I was reading was to put me in direct confrontation to challenge the oppressive systems that was being imposed upon myself and others inside of prison. So organizing activism started inside of prison. And so first organization I joined was called the Islamic Palace of the Rising Sun. Was a black nationalist Muslim organization. Ultimately, I grew that, but just organizing, young brothers on the yard, being able to do for them that what my father had done for me, and then coming home, making the transition from what we call the small yard to the big yard. Find my footing, and again from things I read, taking those things and helping it expand my worldview. It created for me a outlet of how to engage my community. So a lot of things that I began to do was similar to what I learned about through the Panthers. So how the Panthers did the free breakfast program. We instituted the annual backpack event. How the Panthers would open up a headquarters in the neighborhood. We ultimately opened up a bookstore. Now we have a community house. So again, so just not necessarily trying to be the Panthers, but learning how to adapt. And even not just the Panthers. The Nation of Islam, Universal Improvement Association, SNCC, all these organizations. Worth their salt was about connecting to the people and applying the theory to be able to give the best practice.
Oh yeah, no doubt, man. You definitely named some giants, but like you say, we can study, we can learn, we can empower ourselves, but at some point we have to apply the information that we've been learning and share it as well.
Right.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about prison. I had read this article online. Somebody had did a study, and they was saying perhaps America is the only country in the world where men and males and boys are sexually assaulted or abused more than women, perhaps. So I wanted to ask you because it was in correlation with the prison system. As we know, a great majority of the prisoners are black or they are Latino, which a lot of them are black or mixed with black. How is that going to affect the black community, the black men now, 10 years from now, 50 years from now? How are black men going to dress? How are they going to act? How are they going to behave and interact with each other?
So that's an interesting position statement. I think it has to be broke down in terms of state. Every state is different related to how the dynamics of prison, also the era too. So the era that I went into prison, um, that level of behavior had became more sophisticated. It wasn't as brute. It wasn't as straightforward. Say in the '60s, the '70s, and probably even in the '80s. You had a few individuals who was still associated in that sense of kind of this throwback predator. He was just preying on individuals, but then again, because I think the most important thing I have to evaluate is the environment. The environment is conducive to the dehumanization. So again, I mean, you have homosexuality, right? And you might have the guy that comes in. That's what he chooses to be. You choose to want to, date or be attracted to the same sex. Where you have the other individual because of the circumstances, he's deciding to want to be a homosexual because he's been engineered by the environment. He doesn't see himself as a homosexual. He just trying to fulfill his lust of loneliness, of pleasure. And I mean, like you got some guys who live double lives. Where inside a prison on that yard, they have what in Michigan what we call the boy, and then he's on the phone talking to his wife or his girlfriend. So it varied, um, from again from time era, but you had a lot of the older guys, like I said, that they was you know coming out of the streets. I mean, they gift the gab was so. Many of these guys was former pimps and shit like that. So they preyed on weaker minded individuals. So I think coming home. I mean, you talking about, and I don't know if you seen the Harlem Godfather with
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been watching that.
if you remember the first episode when he comes out of prison, and his wife, she's sitting, Bumpy's wife, she's sitting out like, just tell me about it. How was it? Or not necessarily tell me, just release the anger, release the pain. And I think that was and not necessarily from the potential of sexual assault, but just in general, it's a lot. It's a lot to absorb. I mean, for 9, 10, 20 years. Uh, and that could be one aspect of it for some guys. And so the ability to be able to heal and deal. I mean, it's a nightmare that you live with. And again, not just that, but just in general. And that's just one component, and you might find that in some of the individual lives. So is the ability to create a space to talk to folks. And again, just whether it's that or just in general, I think George Jackson said, no man leaves prison without being scarred.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the best way to say it because, like you say, even if you take that element out of it, just being in that type of environment and just wanting to survive, trying to survive and going through different things, it's not a lot of options for black men or women to talk about it or heal. Even in the streets, like people that never went to prison, it's not a lot of places that we can go and have these conversations and figure out, how to heal from, how to move forward. We just constantly going, like a machine. So